was a dead end a minute ago.
No, that's a dead end behind you.
It keeps changing. What am I supposed to do?
Well, the only way out here is to take one of these doors.
One of them leads to the castle at the center of the labyrinth, and the other one leads to cheat codes.
It's January 14th, 2016. Welcome to episode 80 of the Cheat Codes Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We're glad you're hanging out with us. The next hour is us drinking a few beers, going over our favorite bits from the past week in video games, and sometimes a sprinkling of tech and pop culture. My name is Joe Erskine. I am your host. We're coming to you from inside a long, dark well, inside a kooky maze that's lined with very expressive hands, and we can't tell if they're trying to cop a feel or not. Today I'm here with Cheat Codes producer and editor, Mr. Joe Ambrosius Arroyo.
Hello.
Cheat Codes contributor, Mr. Nick Sir Didymus Golish.
Hey, how's it going?
Cheat Codes community manager and game designer at Boss Key, Mr. Chris Ludo Morris.
Hello.
And game designer at Wargaming here in Seattle, Mr. Kevin Hoggle Katona.
What's up?
Today on the show, we're going to brave the bog of eternal stench that are the following main topics. ESPN is finally committing to eSports and are launching a devoted platform to do so. A Norwegian high school is going to start offering class credit for playing games. Hooray. And software pirates in China are afraid PC games will soon be too difficult to crack. For today's lightning round, we're going to dance magic dance around the following bits. Sony has recently tried and failed so far to trademark Let's Plays. And lastly, Epic Games mistakenly banned a player for allegedly being a real-life terrorist. Mr. Katona. Kevin, welcome, man. Thanks for being here. Tell us what you can about what life is like over at Wargaming, what your life is like, and maybe we can look forward to project-wise.
Yeah, so I'm a designer over at Wargaming. Right now we're working on something I can't talk much about. Obviously, it's not going to be a huge disappointment to current Wargaming fans. If they like our current game, they're most certainly going to love what we're working on now. The kind of work I do is mostly design. It does involve a lot of diplomacy. I kind of help organize, if a lot of people are disagreeing about certain things, I tend to be kind of a mediator and kind of put things into terms that people don't see quite so argumentative. I also do a lot of content building, some organizing and scheduling, tasking, all that sort of boring stuff.
You kind of skirt the line then between like production and design as well?
Absolutely.
So it's production with a design philosophy, right?
It's more it's design with production philosophy.
Okay.
I know how to build content in a way that doesn't waste people's time.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
I'm thinking World of Submarines?
Nailed it, man.
Let's start guessing.
Yeah, right.
Actually,
World of Helicopters.
So they came to my school and actually gave a big speech about, we'd love to have some of you guys come interview with us, and I had already been lined up for an interview the next day. So they said, we were palling around, and I said, all right, our next game right now, I'm telling you, is going to be World of Yetis. That's what it's going to be, just a bunch of big Yetis running around. And then the next day, I brought in a Unity prototype.
Oh, yes.
For World of Yetis.
That's fantastic.
To the interview.
Well, now I understand why you probably got that job.
Oh, yeah. Put your fucking money where your mouth is, right?
Yeah, like just walk in with a prototype.
So I can't really talk about it, but that is what we're making.
Yeah, right.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being here, man. We appreciate it. Before we get on the main course of the show, let's talk about what we're washing it down with. As we always do, we've handpicked a frosty beer to accompany the episode. Something hopefully tasty. Today's offering is the Rico Sauvin Double IPA from Against the Grain Brewery located in Louisville, Kentucky. The can states, and I quote, "Let it be known that Rico is out for one thing, to be inside you." So let that sink in for a second. With that being said, let's take a quick moment here, fellas, and acknowledge, appreciate, and celebrate the lives of Lemmy Kilmeister, David Bowie, and Alan Rickman. Singular talents all, I think we all agree. Playing Ace of Spades in Rock Band made me appreciate that song more somehow. David Bowie had ties to games too with the Omicron thing with David Cage's studio.
He had some Rock Band songs or some Guitar Hero songs.
Yes, he did as well. I was trying to
mix it up.
Yeah. But he also, was arguably the poster child for making personal reinvention cool before Madonna and Lady Gaga did it probably. And Alan Rickman was the guy who made being a villain more lovable than most heroes.
That's appropriate.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So let's raise a glass.
Oh,
gentlemen!
Cheers.
All right, cheers it up. to
to the following three.
The latest celebrity trio.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, as dumb as that sounds, it's still kind of
Always
accurate.
the case.
Yeah. All right. So we got lots to talk about today. So let's dig in. Topic number 1: ESPN has committed to their new esports platform. At long last, ESPN's going to stop their foreplay with esports and finally consummate what's hopefully a very blessed marriage. ESPN has announced this week that they've launched a dedicated section of their resources and outlets to cover esports. Has esports finally grabbed that legitimacy Chivo that it's been quickly advancing towards, or not? We'll see. I guess in the coming months.
I can't get past that. You just said Chivo.
Chivo,
Isn't it
dude.
Chevo?
I'm not gonna.
Chivo. It's an achievement. Or would you prefer trophy? Are you a PS4 guy? It's fine.
Trophy's
Call them
fine.
Chivos.
PC Master
Let's
Race.
Chivo, dude.
What's wrong with that, Chris?
It just
Sounds like something you put on a salad.
It sounds dirty. Like, it just sounds dirty.
It sounds Mexican.
What's wrong with salad?
Oh my god.
Chivo. Like,
¿Qué pasó, señor? Huh?
You got El Chapo and El Chivo, and they're both in that drug ring.
And they both get interviewed by Sean Penn.
Yeah.
It's fine. Factually and contextually speaking, Chad Millman, the editor-in-chief of ESPN.com and ESPN the magazine, says in a press release that they hope to reach and connect with its growing and passionate audience, despite what the president of ESPN said once upon a time, and their former shock jock pundit, Colin Cowturd.
Yep. Good one.
Who actually left the company, in the fact, and it's now over, I think it's Fox Sports, but it's finally happening, guys. It's finally happening.
He's rolling in his proverbial grave right now. That's what I was saying earlier. It's
I keep telling you, even if you
but
use
he's not dead.
even if you use a proverbial statement,
he's
he's
dead
still
on the inside.
He's dead on the
He's dead
inside.
on the inside. And he's also probably lamenting all of the money that he's not going to be getting paid now because esports are going to take off.
But I mean, look, if it doesn't make you happy, don't do it, right? Like, he'd be miserable probably if he had to stand up there and announce an esports game. Do you imagine? He'd be even more dead inside.
But that's the one I'd watch.
I know, right? It'd be entertaining for us. I mean, I'd enjoy it.
For sure.
watch this guy.
Look
hate
at this
his job.
asshole over here.
Yeah,
What does he think
life.
he's doing? All right, this guy's going up the middle. I don't know what the fuck he's trying to get done here. I guess he's going to smack this wolf over here. All right.
This guy's clicking his left mouse.
Oh, there's some pretty particle effects.
I would have
Yay.
paid him money to be up there saying shit like, I guess 420 Blazits in the lead. I don't know what else to say, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, wait, no. Dank Master 420 YOLO's here.
Now he's filling out a survey that Riot made him take.
Out of nowhere from the bush comes, Pussy Crusher 69. Here they come. It's going to be great.
Oh no, another survey. Tuned in to find out if he gets to keep his gamer tag.
So up until this point, ESPN has had they've been a flirtatious kind of relationship with esports. They've been airing things on some of their side channels and apps.
They've been testing the waters.
Yes, I think that's appropriate thing to say. They did the
Dota,
international
right?
for years
Yeah.
now. You can actually find one of our former guests on that screen cap, Pierce Berg.
Yeah, Pierce-
sitting there
Pierce Berg.
half asleep.
Hashtag Pierce Watch.
Yeah, hashtag Pierce Watch. Yeah. And as well as I think they did the overnight for Heroes of the Storm, the collegiate competition.
Yeah, that was
back in April. The Heroes
That
of
was
the
the
Storm,
one that-
exactly. Yep.
Was that the one that Cowherd got upset about? Or
I
something?
think that
That's when he
is
made
exactly
the statement, at least. Yeah.
And that's interesting, though, because apparently that was day 9, was one of the guys casting that. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Sean Plott, but this is a former StarCraft Brood War player who has kept this casting community going, and he's incredibly charismatic. He's a lot of fun, and really, if you think about it in terms of we are about to do something very dangerous, right? This is kind of a little bit of what I do at work sometimes, is when there's something that's super controversial that you're about to put out there, it really helps to have someone who is dedicated to making it fun and accessible. So even if you're not entirely in agreement with what is happening in front of you, there's someone that's making it fun. Kind of the guy who's telling the stories, who's injecting humor where you don't expect it, right?
Wasn't Sean Plott the guy who did the PC panel at E3 this past year? I could be wrong about that.
I don't know that.
Fair enough.
I was just thinking off of what he said. It sounds like ESPN's going that route. They're hiring these people that are big names already in the community, and they want to bring it so that people can immediately relate, I guess, or at least get into it, because these people are known in our industry already. Like people,
Yeah, or at
so
least
that-
in the esports kind of like like sphere for sure.
yeah. So you're gonna get those people like Cowherd who are not gonna necessarily understand it or something, but
Right.
you're gonna
So they, you know,
they brush it off. But ESPN's definitely doing a good job of like trying to bring in these people, I guess.
Yeah, specifically
example,
speaking, they fired 3 kind of staffers to do it. Former on Gamers co-founder and the Score senior editor Rod Slasher Breslau, the Score esports and LOL esports, meaning League of Legends,
Yeah,
writer
say
Tyler
LOL.
Fion Erzberger, and former managing editor at from Zubu, which was one of the like original streaming esports sites, Darren Kwilinski. So I think they're
So these are all
tapping the right resources.
Yeah, really
right?
familiar names. I mean, do you guys, when you look at this, do you see kind of moving away from trying to become a conventional sport? Like, at first I had the reaction that it's like, okay, they're trying to bring in esports as just another thing, but it almost seems as if they're not trying to make it just another one of the guys. They are trying to make this something new. They're bringing in these familiar names and letting the community that already exists kind of drive this push.
I think that's the only way to do it. Like,
Yeah,
right.
agreed.
And that's why I'm so excited about this prospect, that to see them go into this realm, it'd be really easy for some like major conglomerate to just look down on this thing and say, I need to do a cash grab over here. And if they did, they'd just bring, Colin Cowherd would be hosting the next international, and everyone would be like, oh, I'm going to fucking blow my brains out.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're doing that means that not only are they willing to accept this as a legitimate community that they've been looking at for a while, but they're also willing to do it right, which means they did their research, they took their time, they hired the right people. And so it's nice to see them actually do it the right way.
I guess I really like what they're doing, but when I was reading the article, I also got the sense like, the way I feel about this is they're kind of like Microsoft, like you said exactly. They're just not some guy going in for the cash the cash out or something. But the way I read it is like I do feel like they may be kind of doing that also. Like
They're still a business. At the end of the day,
they're still
right?
business at the end of the day. But what I read at one point was like, okay, we've shown that we're able to like produce and put out things that are different, and this is no different from that. So they're saying that already esports is not necessarily like on the same mainstream as sports, but it's something different. And because we're ESPN, we can already do this. Like we know that we're the boss. We can take care of this.
All right, quick question actually for you guys. People who play esports, do you call them athletes?
I would say no. Like athleticism is something I would say. It's hard to say. I agree that esports are sports, but I'm not sure if I agree that athletes are actual athletes yet.
What about mathletes though?
a little bit of that.
Yeah.
I'd have to look up the exact definition of athlete. And
All right, here we go.
Imagining you will. Okay, cool.
Athlete.
Webster's
noun.
dictionary defines athlete as
That's how I
A
start mine.
person who is proficient in sports and other forms of physical exercise.
See, that's tough because then it said sports
Yeah, but don't
and
esports require?
You
like,
do need
massive
physical
amounts of
dexterity. Like you do. Yeah.
so then yes, you're an athlete.
So 2 things. We're going to actually talk a little bit more about this in the next topic as well, foreshadowing. But at the same time, thanks. You're welcome.
It's not foreshadowing if a movie
If I
goes,
say it- if I
someone's
say
going to
it,
die right here.
I can't make it explicit. Is that not how that works? Okay. But at the same time, I think what's interesting to note is that the athletes that you see, quote unquote athletes that you see in esports, obviously look very different from the ones that we're used to seeing on, networks like ESPN. Yes, like they're not necessarily muscle-bound football guys or
Showing
maybe
any
more
level
live
of
than
emotion.
right. Well, unless you're Russell Wilson, who cries every once in a while, or Tom Brady for that matter.
No, what I'm saying
he's
is
talking about the
football
games.
tends to have emotion.
Right.
Okay. Or
Enter perfect.
Or you could just like you go back to the day like when in baseball when like Roger Clemens just like threw balls at people and challenged them to do something about it. But either way,
So it sounds like the plot to like a weird porno.
Yep.
your input is always valued.
Thanks, Chris.
throwing balls 7. Still throwing balls.
Number 36 from Vivid Video. Okay, I'm not going to feed into that anymore. But my point is, as far as the definition of athletes go, I think the athletes that we're going to, potentially see on ESPN are going to look a lot different than the ones we're used to. At the same time, I think legitimacy level has been achieved to a certain degree, but until Bob Costas is in hologram form, kind of like in Tupac like style 20 years from now on CBS or NBC or whichever like major network he works for, if those networks are still around in 20 years, alongside the Olympics. Until it's an Olympic sport.
Oh no!
Look, I love everything about this, and it's more legitimate all the time, and I love the fact that people are starting
Olympic.
to break.
Think about it. I mean, esports is more international than most sports that are aired on American TV.
Yeah. Agreed, and an excellent point. But I think until it's recognized as like an Olympic sport in Athens or as part of the five linked rings.
Also,
like when the people watch down during the opening ceremonies holding the American flag or the Korean flag or the Chinese flag or whatever whatever European country you can think of that has the best CS:GO players, whatever the fuck it is. I think until they're like marching there or this guy with this awesome call sign name is the one who's the flag bearer in the opening ceremonies of the Olympics, then that's when it's like
I feel like
you want to see
that's
like
official
the
right
fat,
there.
pimply like lol nerd carrying the torch is what you're asking
Yes.
for.
Yeah, I think
that's like saying Leonardo DiCaprio is not a good actor until he wins an Oscar.
I feel like it's
he might get it this year. We're gonna see.
You're missing the point.
I feel like
I'm not missing the point. I'm making a different one.
I'm not sure the point you're making is very good because I feel
No. I think your opinion is wrong.
Go on.
I feel like esports could very easily become an Olympic event without people recognizing it being a sport. Like say something
That's true.
like
That's a
chess
good point.
or
Was chess ever an Olympic sport that I'm not aware of?
these are things that have been considered for Olympic sports or something.
Okay.
People play these games and people have considered them being athletes and sport and an actual sport or something. Is golf a sport? Are they athletic? They're hitting something, I suppose.
Right.
But
Can we think of an Olympic event that isn't formally a sport?
Can you think of an
softball used to be, and then they got rid of it.
There are so many Olympic events that we don't know about already that are already taking place that are sports. And esports, I feel like, will fall into one of those necessarily.
I think that's
necessarily accepted as a real sport.
I'm going to pose a question for you guys. So when Facebook inevitably gets us all plugged into VR, and so no one goes outside anymore to do anything, and we're just doing football in VR, so is it going to be a real sport, or is it going to be an esport?
That's
Will we be forced to recognize?
fuck you, Chris Morris.
If there's electronics involved, it's probably an esport.
I think it's an esport. If you're not up
But no
and
one will
moving
be playing
around.
football anymore, right? They'll all just be plugged into Facebook VR.
So here's the thing. It'll be an esport, but you'll still be an athlete because dexterity is still involved. Yes.
Right? Don't you think the problem with athlete
what
is
if-
that it's a
if you're plugged
cascading
into
definition?
VR?
Is there dexterity
Yes.
involved if you're like Sword Art Online into this thing or something? Like,
It's just your brain.
if I'm just laying in my bed with a headset on,
Right.
like-
If I could be
Yeah, you're
killed
just
at
like a
any
mathlete
moment
at that point, right?
Yeah.
because of a software failure, sure.
Well, physiologically, your brain is doing physical things when you think. So, I mean, if we want to pull hairs there, even the slightest amount of brain activity is physical activity.
I absolutely want to pull all the
Just
hairs.
another muscle, right?
All right, I actually
Sure.
have a question.
ahead. Before
Before we're even in the Olympics, right? If we want esports to go mainstream, and this could be a little tangential here, and I want to hear from Chris specifically on this. I feel like esports right now, it's kind of lacking something, right? It's I call it the ball problem, where normal sports, there's always something you can focus on. It's either a ball, it's someone's face, it's someone's reaction. It's pretty clear when someone scores. It's pretty clear when things are happening. You may not need to know all the rules, but I feel like esports, for the most part, are kind of incestuous. You need to know a lot about the sport if you want to appreciate anything about what's happening. You know, the layman won't see a Zergling attacking a command center and say, "Oh man, that dog is hurting that building and it's going to die." They'd say,
It's
no.
a niche thing, for
right?
sure.
It's
Yeah.
very niche. How do we overcome that?
enter Rocket League.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Soccer.
mean,
That's the answer.
It's an interesting problem, right? Because there's so much like information that you need to know when going into observe an esport to really like fully appreciate the significance of certain things that are happening in the game, and that information is not like always easily conveyed to an audience spectating, which is why I think really good, well-informed shoutcasters kind of help to get people invested in the action. But yeah, it's like I'm not sure, man. Like when I went and watched StarCraft matches, like I don't know much about StarCraft or League, but I could get excited about what was happening on screen because the shoutcaster was conveying the information, and because the designers had thought out like how a spectating interface would like easily convey information to people. But the games are so complex. It's not like you can go watch a UFC fight and watch two people beat the shit out of each
I don't
other
even-
and immediately understand what's happening.
I don't even think like that's a really good point. I feel like even though if the showcaster is really good, the things that they're saying could possibly not be understood by like somebody else. Like somebody saying, "Oh, like they got this many more resources than somebody else." What does that mean to somebody else that only understands like the ball moving up and down the field or something? Like
Someone with like no video game vocabulary.
they have no video,
have a
like
very
they don't
tough time
understand like
following.
what does resource gathering mean.
That's
in
really the
sport.
important thing. Like when you look at Heroes of the Storm and you look at League of Legends, they have this huge HUD element top center of the screen with two really big numbers, right?
Yeah.
And it represents
helps.
your team's kills.
Right.
And if you can denominate down which team is doing better than the other team, that kind of helps out. And it's
That's
not
how-
always perfectly accurate. You know, you have those teams that, you know, they have less kills and still win the game, but
Well, it's indicative of any sport, right? At any point, even in its infancy, like it takes there's a certain amount of information. I think you raise a good point, Chris. So there's a certain amount of information that has to be conveyed, and if you have the right people conveying that, which if there's any network in the world that's going to convey sports information, shouldn't it be ESPN?
It's okay. It's funny you say that. I think absolutely yes. The more we like get accustomed to it and view this and like see the sport and actually are exposed to it, the more familiar you are with it. When I think about football, I think about I have a lot of understanding of it because I've been exposed to it for so many years. And then I watched my little brother watch football, and he's like, "Oh, why didn't they do so well that time?" It's like they made 4 yards. If they did it every play, they'd win the game.
Correct.
But he doesn't understand yet because he hasn't watched the game for as many years as I have.
He's not wrong though.
So, well, he's not wrong. So, yeah. So, but like I feel like esports need to venture through that phase of their life long enough, also for people to become familiar enough with the rules or something. Like the rules.
It's a step in the right direction of a much longer path. But,
But
yes.
is that a problem? Like esports are changing like every year. It's like the rules.
There is a problem because like football is this institution that's been around for ages, and we've got like brand new games coming out constantly that are trying to break into the esports arena. So how do we like reconcile these games that come in and then basically are obsolete within 5 to 10 years?
Yeah.
Okay, so before we move on, I'm gonna wrap this up as best I can. But what I'll say is this: I think it's been very clear about like there's like 3-4 games that are very much attention based, and the ones that like, people are paying attention to, like League of Legends, like Dota, like maybe even Hearthstone or Smite or whatever the fuck it is. Like it doesn't matter. The point is that there's a very small collective and a very like a nucleus of games that are being paid attention to. ESPN is aware of them because it's been defined by the fan base, and that's what's going to keep informing ESPN is the fan base, and that's what's going to determine it. It's a step in the right direction. I think we've been talking about this for months now about how esports are going to get legitimized. I think this is the biggest step in that direction that I can think of, at least from a personal perspective. So
I think this is great.
all right. So that being said, topic number 2, we're going to talk about a Norwegian high school.
Origin.
A Norwegian high school is set to offer class credit for playing video
confusing.
games. So move over, Oregon Trail.
I get it now.
Yeah.
Or Norwegian Trail.
Origin Trail.
You guys keep going. You let me know when you're ready. How about that?
It's all you.
A Norwegian high school that has a name that I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce is going to begin offering an elective class on eSports this August. All of our childhood dreams are finally coming true, you guys. This article cites in its introduction that playing video games has been linked to increased fluid intelligence as well as other cognitive benefits. So it sounds like there is a school out there that is paying attention and decided to make it part of a larger curriculum. A class of 30 or so will be able to spend about 5 hours a week focused on esports and all that entails. So, for example, 90 minutes will be spent on physical training to improve reflexes, strength, and endurance,
Hence being an athlete.
much like an athlete would. Exactly. And it sounds like the students will be tested also on game knowledge, depending on which ones they're playing, as well as teamwork and tactics when you're doing, let's say, like a MOBA where it's like 5v5, that kind of thing.
Right.
Yep.
In case the listener is wondering, that was the foreshadowing that Joe Erskine
Foreshadowing. Yeah.
tried to allude to, but instead spelled out for you. That's fine.
I like to be direct.
Yeah.
And it's worth noting that they're already gearing up. The project hasn't launched. Like I said before, it's going to launch this August, for the fall semester, I guess, or fall term that's coming up for these high schools. They're taking some donations. You can check it out on their Facebook page. And like I said, I'm not going to try to pronounce the high school page, but if you link, we link to the article when we post the episode. You can find it there. But they're getting some pretty high-powered PCs. They're getting some pretty awesome, gaming chairs, stuff that you see like other streamers use and stuff like that. And they're encouraging students to bring their own headsets, mice, and keyboards to class to, whatever they're comfortable with to play their best. You know what I mean? But the focus is on esports, and it's an elective as an alternative to maybe your average gym class.
Like your PE.
Right.
Like you want to take a physical education, or what do they call this one? Like ME. I don't know.
Competitive education.
It's
that works.
electronic PE. EEP.
EPE.
I don't know. Yeah.
That kind of works.
Special education.
Remedial PE. I don't know. Yeah.
See what we just did.
These are all the classes that we would want to.
We spent all this time building
but now
up.
we're making fun of ourselves.
Yeah, we spent all this time building up esports just for us to just knock it back down as soon as
we're all Colin cow turds. We're all.
How dare we?
He's the Ryan Paul of gaming.
I want to know how they're going to deal with
Ryan.
people in class playing League,
Rand Paul.
like telling each other how shitty they are, and how I don't know, all the shit that comes out of people's mouths when they play League of Legends.
I don't know,
We've seen it.
I feel like if they start young enough, then they can properly teach
manners,
non-salty behavior between
proper trash talking.
Yeah,
I think that's the most important thing they can teach is how to talk to each other appropriately.
I think that's what you learn in high school is how to interact with people. There's nothing you learn in class is important because you learn that stuff in college. But I don't know. If they introduce the stuff earlier, then people can easier adapt. Easier.
It's a word.
It's a word.
Easier.
Yeah.
Easier. It's fine.
Easier adapt to the environment.
Can't get over easily. Nick Easlier goalish, everybody.
Yeah. It's okay.
He's the easiest
I called
person.
Paul Ryan Paul. So
And that's why I said Rand Paul.
What? Okay. We'll get back to that reference in a minute. But what I'm interested in is what Nick's trying to say, and I think what you're saying is ultimately it's like if we can have a better gaming online community if we teach our kids younger and how the right way to do
so
that, right?
Much, yes.
Okay.
Do we believe that would work?
Probably not.
Hell no.
Or at least the kids, like the Norwegian kids that come out of this high school, we can expect to be proper.
Oh God,
At
you're
least
gonna
esports
play.
athletes as well as multiplayer gamers. Right?
So yeah, well, I mean, today I watched Randy Pausch's famous last lecture, and this was a professor over at Carnegie Mellon, incredible guy, and one of the things of his talk was he was explaining, when you take when you're a football player in school, you're not learning how to become a good football player. You're learning how to deal with teamwork. You're learning how to deal with overcoming adversity. You're learning how to deal with commitment to something that's not easy. So I think a lot of this is just those same lessons, but put into maybe a more friendly, you don't really realize you're learning these things, but really you are.
I think what I like most about it, and good reference to the last lecture. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Everyone should check that out, by the way, if you haven't.
Agreed.
Anyway, that being said, what I like about this class is it's obviously not just playing games, and I think that's what people outside of the esports world are going to immediately assume when there's a class like this. We've already touched on it a little bit, but there's the the physical training part that you had mentioned, but then there's a large portion that's based off strategy. So it's like moving to the whiteboard and showing people how to work together as a team to accomplish a collective goal.
Getting offline and talking about it tactically and yeah.
So there's not nearly as much actual gameplay as you'd probably think in this type of a class. And I think that's probably the coolest thing because you have a lot more takeaways from a class like this than just this is a class I'm taking because I like to play video games.
Or I think I can get an easy grade because I'm just going to sit here and play video games. No, they don't have a curriculum in place. It's worth noting, but it's forthcoming.
But they will soon, and
yes.
Good luck getting a good grade on the test of strategy when you're not paying attention.
Right.
And they're like, "What do you do when when you're getting flanked from the side and you got only one guy on your left and whatever?" And you're like, "Oh well."
You know what this sounds like to me?
This was an easy class.
It's like West Point, but for video games. You know what I mean? Effectively. So, but only for high school students in Norway.
All right.
You know, same thing.
Necessary question. Now, if this were to happen in the U.S., there would be an explosion, the same way there was for ESPN. People saying, "Oh, this is nonsense. They're wasting our children." But this is Norway, where the biggest sports are hockey and cross-country skiing. Apparently, I just looked this up. Do you think there's going to be any sort of public backlash that this is now being offered as a class?
That's a good question.
I think it's a valid question.
As an American, we won't hear about it.
You're 100% correct.
Not in my
If
bubble.
there's a backlash in Norway about kids playing games for class credit, we won't hear about it. You're right. Will there be a backlash? Yeah, maybe. But
Show enough.
But
Show enough.
Show enough. But at the same time, I think you're still going to see some returns. Like, between studies that have been done, I'm not saying that, video gaming is the answer to everything, but it's there's obviously benefits, there's takeaways, just like there are in sports. Like, if you play too much football, you could end up concussed, or
This is. I don't know if you guys have noticed this either. Like, this is loosely related to what we're talking about and everything else that's come out in the past few weeks. There was a recent study that came out about like how video games are good and video games do this and video games help health and video games are good for
this is
learning.
the same day that another one came out. That
It's the same. It's the same study.
Yeah.
It was like every article I read. It was the same study. Is like this study showed that video games are good for eating. This study showed that video games are good for like mental health. This study showed that video games are good for 2-year-olds. And I feel like lately all the articles I've been reading have been showing that video games are good for something based off of this study. And I can't necessarily say that this one's been off of that, but people are like, oh, let's open up a student program based on video games are good for students to learn or something. And I don't know if I'm the only one who's been like noticing that, or
I've definitely been seeing
I think we all have.
Think about like how like every time you play a new game, you have to like learn how to play the game all over again, but you don't have somebody like instructing you. It's kind of like up to the game and up to your ability to like understand complex systems and mechanics. So having like a class that's focused around like learning to play a game together is kind of a no-brainer, right? Like it's something that probably should have happened a while ago. It's no different than like taking a class where you play on a sports team together, right? Except there's probably a lot more stuff that you could learn from playing a series of different video games, arguably, than just investing all your time into a single sport. So I don't know. I think it's definitely something we're probably going to see more of. I'm surprised it's not like more like edutainment stuff. But it's like I'm pleasantly
Staples
surprised, right?
whatnot.
Like I think it's cool that they're doing like competitive esports games as part of their program.
Yeah, man, I'm totally with you on this. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm thinking back to the PE classes I took, the physical education classes, and when I think what would I want to learn in those things, it's like, well, I want to learn teamwork and competitiveness, and it's like I didn't really learn any of that. I didn't even learn how to take care of my body. I just learned to run a few laps and shoot hoops a couple times.
Right, and hold one part of a parachute while we all
that was awesome though.
Yeah.
I think I may have had a much better PE teacher than all of you then, because I love PE class.
Really?
But that's fine.
Well, that was like
they had less
run-
video games at the time.
Yeah, it was run and touch one line of the basketball court, and then run back and touch the other line, and then and then maybe
I'm fairly confident that I'm older than most of you, so that's fine. But at the same time, he was, I don't know, my gym teacher had 1.5 arms, and he was like, born like with the bottom half of his left one cut off. Like, it was just that way, and he was still like an all-state wrestler and golfer and everything else. And so he was a pretty rad gym teacher, is all I'm saying. So
my gym teacher was a Vietnam vet, and he told us a story once about how he had to like breathe through a bamboo straw in a lagoon for like 6 hours, so he
that
didn't
sounds like
get
a
captured
movie.
by the Viet Cong.
You're just quoting a movie right now.
No, that was our
No,
gym
fair
teacher.
enough. Fair enough.
My gym teacher was 350 pounds, and he did a great job sitting on the bleachers and telling us what to do.
not running fast enough.
He used his own stomach girth as a food tray for his lunch.
Hurry up and bring me my chicken.
I run fast. This is PE.
I don't feel like I had any bad experiences with my gym teachers or any of that.
I love gym. Gym was great. But I love the idea of esports in gym as well, like as an alternative.
I have two questions to pose. I'll pose the first, and we'll go around, and then if there's time, hopefully I'll fit the second one in. But the first one is actually, Simple. How long do you guys think it's going to take for this to spill over into the U.S. and it becomes something here?
We've already seen it in college.
That's
Colleges are already.
No,
offering
I mean
credit.
like low.
That's different.
Lower level, like
public
very
public
different.
education.
Yeah, in public education, how long do you guys think it's going to take?
How long is this going to take to get to Kansas?
Forever.
Thoughts?
They still think that Jesus rode a dinosaur into creation.
All right, make that video game, and then maybe they'll do a class on it.
It's called Ark.
What?
And then you can just make a character that's
bearded-
based on
yeah.
Jesus. It's Ark.
And then Jesus buried all the bones. For us to find.
That's probably the best hidden achievement in Ark you could possibly bury all the bones of your dead
So
dinosaurs.
does no one have any conjectures on how long they think it might be?
As long as Donald Trump has any vote from anyone, it's probably not going to happen.
Okay.
Because those people are terrified of anything new.
I think
That's a fair assessment.
the way I view it is like nationally it'll become accepted before the Midwest accepts this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I guess
coastal first.
Yeah, coastal, and it's already shown that in different areas that we accept it. We accept these kind of things first, and then nationally it follows, and then it goes into the Midwest. And I had this conversation before with some of my friends about marijuana, I guess you could say.
Okay.
And
I guess
guess
you
we
could
could
say.
I
I
guess
guess
say
I guess you
marijuana.
could say.
Yes, we can say marijuana.
Yeah.
If it's not Fleek or like the synthetic marijuana, like you're not referring to that, are you?
Eat your
So
greens.
you're
That's all.
literally talking about like legitimate marijuana.
Okay, I come from Wisconsin, and that's Midwest, obviously.
Yes.
And I live in Washington, and in Washington, weed is legal. And I talk to my friends back home, and they're like, "When is weed going to be legal here?" It's like when the federal government allows it, because
Right. None of your states are going to step
your
up to the
states
plate.
I
are
think
not
your
going
friends should
to.
stop asking you when weed will be legal in
Yeah, I know.
Wisconsin. First of all,
They're like, can you package it into a candle and send it to me?
but at the same time, I think
I think it's going to be similar in a sense for esports.
I think that's a good correlation to make. I think
no,
that's
a lot of
a fair parallel.
A lot of my family's from the Midwest, and a lot of them live in the Midwest. Some of them live in California, but they're still Midwest at heart, and they don't understand esports. They don't understand video games in the sense that we do. But we're very liberal, and we are open to a lot of things here.
We're also very
So
specific about what we do
yeah,
here.
we like these kind of things.
And honestly, this goes back to what I asked Chris earlier. I mean, a lot of this is just public perception problem. It's a lot of fun for the people who understand the sport, but for the people who don't, who are outsiders, they see this as encroaching upon territory they've had for so long. We need to make them part of the story.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
If ESPN or even Norwegian schools want to make this a contagious kind of thing or something that branches out, then what? So acceptability and accessibility becomes the issue?
Well, here, second question, maybe, because I think you guys nailed the fact that, well, if anything, it'll probably be, Washington will get on board first, and then we'll see what happens. Then all his friends will be like,
Colorado.
yeah, all Nick's friends will be like, when can I take a class on esports? So
when it's nationally accepted.
yeah. So the second question is whether or not we debate that sports versus esports are one and the same in a sense. We can at least agree that the demographic that it targets are very different people in some respects. Okay, so is this idea of a class, a collective, a community that can get together at school? Is this a good thing then, for a good place for introverts to find other introverts, because there aren't a lot of options like that in school today? And now, for once, there's somewhere where all of them can enroll in a class and know that they're going to be next to the guy who also respects video games, and maybe.
I think so.
Personally, sorry, go ahead.
It's gonna be like how all the girls want to sleep with the quarterback. Well, now if it's it's recognized at the school that this guy's hella good at jungle, all the chicks are gonna want to hook up with that guy
because they can get in the games faster.
Because
Yep.
this guy's a carry.
Yeah.
He's
No, personally,
Guy's a carry.
I honestly don't like the fact that you associated introverts with video game players.
but
I
the
actually
thing is-
had a bone to pick with that.
I know,
Right.
I was expecting you guys to get a little razzled by it, but no matter how you slice it, there's a large number of introverts in the gaming community. There's no doubt about that. It's spread out way back.
I think there's a stereotype that thinks that. I think there are a number of introverts in
Yeah.
a development
And at least they
and
have somewhere
playing
to go.
industry.
How many
But
how many people in this room are introverts that play video games? Like honestly, we're all out here like
I'm an extrovert.
playing
I host
like
a
doing a
fucking
podcast.
podcast, dude. I'm an extrovert.
Like right
Straight
here,
up.
100% of us are like not introverts.
Yeah, but you're asking that in the room where we're doing a podcast.
And
so
a
obviously
context.
that-
I'm
that's-
asking you in a
the question
context of people that play video
Right.
games.
Right.
Like
It's a valid question
Yeah.
because it's like who the fuck are we referring to then?
I think there's a group of people that would love games, and honestly, when you think about the people that are watching esports, I would equate them to a lot of the people that are doing fantasy sports, that are more interested in what's behind the numbers rather than just, oh, all my friends love watching football, so it's kind of a lubricant for us having fun together. No, there's a lot of people that love watching football because they love football
Right.
specifically, and they want to understand how football works, and I think we've got a much larger percentage of those people in our audience for esports than football has in their audience, so I'd say we should start there.
I think that's
I like
that's
that,
a
yeah.
really good point.
That's a win.
You know what? Fuck
Nothing-
that.
yeah,
We're
nothing
moving
to
on.
be said.
All right, we're good. All right, number 3, software pirates. Get a little scared. The games are getting too tough to crack. Members of the Chinese hacking forum 3DM are starting to posit that in the coming years, developers will have established strong enough systems that they'll be unable to crack the PC versions of games to make them available to your average torrenting
gamer.
Sure.
Introvert. Oh no!
Introvert.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Oh,
They're not interchangeable. Sorry, guys.
Slip, guys. 3DM has recently been stumped and slowed with a few recent high profile releases, like Dragon Age Inquisition was one. It took about a month for them to crack, and to make that make sense to the listener, like it. When these guys are trying to crack games, it rarely takes that long. Okay, to make that even worse, games like FIFA 16 and Just Cause 3 that have been on the market for a good, like Just Cause 3 a little bit less, but FIFA 16 for a good while now, still haven't cracked them.
The way I read these articles was all of these news sites were so disappointed that we couldn't crack games anymore for people to have free games.
That is kind of how
That's-
I read most of the.
It's like,
Yeah.
okay, Kotaku's reporting on like, oh, these guys can't crack games anymore. You guys gonna gotta look someplace else. These guys can't get it to you anymore. The next site is like, oh, these guys gave up because they can't crack this game. You have to go buy it. I'm sorry.
You're $60 poorer.
It's like,
My
It's
bad.
a weird approach, right? It's a weird delivery.
And 3DM comes out saying, sorry guys, there's no more free games.
they said free games are done for the rest of our lives because we can't pirate games.
except for Xbox memberships, and when you have gold, and when you have PS Plus. Yeah, but there's no free games except for the free games you get on there.
But
you got to pay
keep
for
it-
those.
Keep in mind, you're
Some-
right.
a lot
Chris,
of them
you're
are
right.
free.
But this is
No, you got
this
to pay
is-
for the membership.
Yeah, but fuck. I mean, are you kidding? With all the games,
Hey,
they
man,
if
listen.
you got no money, you got no
Chris,
money.
if 3DM
All right.
can't crack Just Cause 3, League of Legends servers go down. It's a fact, man.
Yeah.
You can't play any more free games.
Yep.
Are my games not free because they can't crack games? Like,
That's right.
is it accurate to say like there are no more free games for the rest of my life
Absolutely not.
because they can't crack Just Cause 3?
They mean no more free games without without microtransactions.
There are no more
and then
free
they-
games that cost money actually because they're pirated.
What about
because-
Digipen games?
What about free to play games?
Yeah,
They're all free to play, or free to play immediately means microtransactions.
I know.
in my mind.
I know.
But
I know.
there's not. You play League of Legends. You don't have to pay a damn thing to play League of Legends.
So I actually had a conversation with a friend recently, another game developer, and I was saying, he thought this was a great thing, and I actually was on the other side of the fence, and I was like, this kind of sucks because I pay for all my games now, but
now
I remember what it was like.
now is a
I remember
qualifying
what it was
statement
like
to that.
to be a young, impressionable youth interested in internet piracy and free games, and so
You buying your
like,
drugs off Tor? Yeah.
people that don't have any money, they're not going to buy the games anyway. So it's not it wouldn't have been. I'm going to argue that it wouldn't have been a sale either way. So myself personally, if I was going to make a game that I was going to charge people for, like, sure, I want to support my work, but if someone's going to pirate my game and play it and they wouldn't have bought it otherwise, I'm actually like, I'd rather have them just play the game instead. But
Well, hopefully that's why you're doing it in the first place,
that's
right?
a contentious point for like these huge budget $60 games that people don't want. Like
Chris,
millions of dollars like potentially going down the drain.
Keep in mind you're working on Lawbreakers, right? And I'm sitting over here and I'm working on a very different game that's free to play. And if there's someone playing our game that is not paying money, we are losing a lot of money. You know, not every studio out there is making a big political statement or trying to evoke specific emotions. We're just trying to, let our players have fun, and if they're having a good time, they keep paying and they have more fun, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the free to play model is a whole different beast. I'm talking just specifically about like the one-time purchase, the big $60 games.
Right.
Well, I think the approach that people should take then is they should listen to what Game of Thrones did. I don't know how to do this with the game. Maybe this is the question to pose to the panel.
Do you mean Game of Thrones as a show that was the most pirated show of all time?
Yeah,
for like
I'm
3
getting
years
to it.
in a
If
row.
you'd let me finish, I'd get to it maybe.
well,
but we'll see.
A lot of our audience is a gaming audience, and I want to make sure that you're not
Game
talking
of
about the
Thrones-
Game of Thrones game.
No, Game of Thrones.
Telltale.
I was getting there. The show knew that it was pirated a ton, and so they made an effort to release all the content. So if you'd had like an episodic game or something like that, for the show, they'd release all the content at the exact same time on every medium, whether it was online through the streaming services or when it aired on TV, all happened at the same moment. And the goal of that was to make sure that social media would get into a ridiculous frenzy about the latest episode because something crazy would happen in it, that no one would feel okay waiting a day knowing that everything would get spoiled and ruined for them if they hadn't just bought the service and watched it when it aired.
But that's my thing. Like HBO, I'm pretty sure you can get exclusively, right?
Well, yeah, you can.
now.
You
but
can now, yeah.
You used to not be able to.
That's what's killing me, right? Is going back to football, we've been talking about a whole bunch. Is like I can't just get an NFL subscription. If I want to watch a live football game, I
Soon.
can't just say NFL, right?
In like 10 years.
Well,
I think you can, but it doesn't work quite as
You
well.
can get a
That's
free
fine.
HBO
WWE
does, yeah.
subscription now.
I don't
mean,
think-
like, come on.
I don't think anyone's gonna, see hints of spoilers on Facebook and say, you know what, goddamn, all right, fine, I'm gonna buy a $300 a month cable package on impulse.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, is there any way? I guess what I'm asking is there any way for them to apply that kind of philosophy to gaming? Because this was coming from Game of Thrones being one of the most pirated things of all time to coming up with a solution that makes everyone happy. Like you want to pirate it, fine, but everyone's gonna spoil the shit, and you're not gonna feel good about it.
You guys remember Game Dev Tycoon, right? We played a whole bunch of that. They actually leaked their own game on torrent sites before they did their retail release. And it was like a slightly modified version where it was your company was more likely to fail due to piracy. But it was a really cool marketing stunt that they actually ended up converting some people into paid users.
All right,
So-
but let's understand something very specific here. Is that HBO kind of embraced the fact that they were being pirated, and 3DM is running into problems where a lot of these studios, specifically ones that are running, new release games, like we can go back and talk about the shit show that the Batman Arkham Knight release was for PC specifically.
Yeah.
But they used the de novo software, and the de novo software was very specific to Just Cause 3 and FIFA 16, as well as Mad Max, as well as some other titles that I'm forgetting at the moment. But
Tomb Raider.
the new one, right? But
Yeah.
that hasn't been ported actually yet, but that's coming shortly. So what comes up here to me is that they've established something as a software that is not a DRM measure, but they're calling it an anti-tampering measure, right?
Yeah.
And so what really comes down to for me is that it's not about like that these companies want their games to get pirated and they're allowing it to happen. Like we're trying to make that correlation with HBO and Game of Thrones. These games, like these guys are like, holy fuck, like this software is good enough that it's stumping us. And so to me, it's going to create a craze, or it could create some sort of infusion in a software development aspect where either it becomes an industry standard to use de novo, or we're going to turn around and be like, nobody's fucking pirating games anymore because nobody's getting anything done about it. You
Joe,
know what
I think you nailed it, man. I see this less of I'm a musician and I've got these albums and people are pirating them because they don't want to take a chance on me until they really know they like my stuff. I see this as more of I'm a car company and I want to have the best security system so people are not jacking these cars, right? I want to have an alarm system that
Straight
cannot
up.
be bypassed. And you are going to have those experts out there that can still do it. And honestly, if I'm a car company and those experts are out there, they're going to be making a hell of a lot more bank working for us. We hire them to break our own systems.
Yeah,
And
that's what you want to do.
This
at
is
that point.
indicative of technology as a whole, because we've seen this for fucking years, from Napster to whatever. Like, anytime a new technology comes out or a new barrier comes out, somebody figures out a fucking workaround, and then it's free for a little while, and then we all go back to the fucking drawing board to come up with something else. Like, that is the cycle, right? As an umbrella statement for just technology in general. Like, to me,
I'm amazed we're even here. I didn't expect
right?
it would happen this soon.
Podcasts, you're hacking it. You're not even thinking about it. All right. Lightning round. Everybody ready?
Maybe.
It's time for the lightning round. Here's how it works. We're going to take 2 quick topics, give each member of the panel a quick minute to chime in, uninterrupted for the most part. And at the end of each minute, we will award a panelist a quantity of some type of points based on nothing in particular, really. First on the topic. So, Sony tried to trademark Let's Plays recently. You heard that right. I didn't stutter. The U.S. Patent and Trademark Office put a stop to it temporarily. However, citing customer confusion. Apparently, a Georgia-based company, the state, not the country, already holds a similar trademark, but uses theirs in a way that helps gamers connect with online and offline events. So, what's the deal here? What the hell are they going to do with a Let's Play patent / trademark / copyright? What's the end game if they end up succeeding? We do 2 topics like this. I'm going to give the first one to our guest, and he will end the next one. How's that? All right?
Perfect. All right, so here's my mini rant on this one. Go ahead and start it. If you had to ask me, I'm looking at this, I'm seeing Let's Plays as a household term for anyone that grew up in our generation that's been playing games, watched it make the online conversion, and now it's kind of our way of seeing how games, how they play, what makes them awesome, whether or not I should go buy this and play it myself, and it's a way that people connect to games that they might not otherwise play and have a good time doing it, because typically the casters are great people. I have a really hard time looking at this and seeing less than Sony trying to kind of capitalize on that household name. They want to replace that share button on the PS4 controller with the Let's Play button, right? They want to make sure that if anything good is happening and people are sharing things and having a good time, that their name can be plastered all over it. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully they're just trying to make it easier for the medium to evolve on its own. But honestly, the medium's doing pretty fine. I mean, we're certainly making that that entire genre is made by us, and hopefully it'll stay with us.
Wow, that was like perfectly timed.
I'm going to award you with the channel ESPN 4.
Oh,
For
The Ocho.
the Ocho.
ESPN 8.
The Ocho. Yeah, fuck it. The Ocho. For correctly and succinctly enticing the viewers to not only understand what the fuck it is that this is about, and I don't know, you made it make more sense for me, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was.
How's that?
It was really good.
It was
take
it was a good- it was a solid minute.
That was a really solid.
It was a
minute.
solid minute.
That's in the top 5 minutes of guests so far.
Yeah, at least.
Just guess though, not necessarily us. But
Oh, sorry. I mean, like top 5.
I get it.
Lightning
It's
round
no,
minutes.
it's good.
if I got to be a second-class citizen, I get it.
No. You have to understand
No,
something.
you're the first class citizen in this.
The guests always give better
The guests
minutes
are
than we
better
do.
than
us.
Always.
Always, yeah.
All right. Mr. Arroyo, you can have the second minute.
Even though this is a trademark situation and not a we're suing you situation, this reminds me a lot of the scenario that led up to the company who went out and started suing everybody for having podcasts. And this totally reminds me of just this random thing where, like, this sounds popular. Is there a loophole I can find that can allow me to capitalize on this event? And I know that if they trademarked it, it would turn into that sort of thing where they'd start, creating lawsuits and figuring out ways to just extract money. It's not. I do agree as well with Kevin about the idea that they just want to put their name on everything that is Let's Plays. But I also think that it'd be one of those things where, I don't know, the legal department works around the clock at these large companies to just sue everyone they can on anything that they can. And they would likely do the same thing, much like, what Adam Carolla had to go through protecting our rights to do what we're doing right now on the show. So
5,000, 2 points.
I just get 2 points from Nick Gold?
I'm gonna award you ESPN 2.5
Okay, thanks.
as
The
the
Ocho.
network that ESPN expanded upon originally, and it's not quite where
They're
it should be, but where we hope it goes.
Is it what they stream at like 4 a.m.?
No, it's what
No one's
esports are going to start on.
It's the Ocho, motherfucker. It's the Ocho. All right. Mr. Morris,
literally
Mr.
me
Morris,
taking the votes
can you give me a solid minute?
I'll try my best. It might be a flaccid minute, but we'll see.
All right. Here we go.
Already,
That's the way I like it.
I'm already disappointed.
Good start. All right. Starting now.
So what's interesting about the Sony trying to trademark is that Sony's kind of been like good guy Sony for like the last little bit, like with the release of PS4. So like half of me wants to believe this is just them trying to keep being good guy Sony, like pushing Let's Play for like kind of solidifying it into like a real thing so it sticks around. But like Kevin was saying, it also feels like kind of a cash grab. However, with that said, right, if they really trademarked this and they started pursuing everyone legally that's like using the term Let's Play, they would get burned to the ground and crucified overnight. Like it would be over, right? So it wouldn't be advantageous for them to get it and then to go that route. It would be advantageous for them to get it and then partner with people to help prop them up to sort of like boost the whole ecosystem, you know, like all the boats rise with the ocean type thing. So hopefully that was like more along the lines of what this is and not predatory.
All the boats rise with the ocean tide thing.
That was exactly a minute though, by the way.
Good use of a minute, and I'm going to give you the official ESPN Watch Esports app. Where
Coming soon.
What does that even mean?
where yeah, you're coming soon, but
Is that an app where you watch esports?
Is that an app where Chris Morris is coming
watch
soon?
right.
app?
It's more about it's not
I don't
it's
know
not
if I'm coming
it's
soon.
not
My minute was pretty flaccid.
We know.
that's
It was a chubber. It
but
was
that's
half and
why
half.
you're coming soon. Not quite not on time, but soon.
Yeah, just
soon.
Just a little bit off.
Right. Okay.
Who's sitting out this?
I'm sitting out the first topic. All right. So Nick gets Nick
Oh, I'm
Golish
going?
gets the last minute for
What's the
the
topic?
Sony for the Sony Let's Play.
Talking about Chris's mom again.
So
Yeah.
trademarking Let's Play.
So Chris's mom.
Yeah.
But
Okay, ready, go.
Let's play.
I guess what this reminds me of is when Subway tried to trademark. Why are you guys laughing? I don't
You already
understand.
know you're gonna go off.
Why would Subway try to trademark Footlong? No, honestly, like Subway at one point tried to trademark like Footlong because they had the $5 Footlong. So Subway was like, "Hey, if we had something that we could make lots of money off of, let's make it the word Footlong." So now that all these hot dog vendors are out of a word to say Footlong because they can't say Footlong when they sell the hot dog. They're fucking giant hot dogs. Like, oh, it's 14 inches. No, it's not a Footlong. I feel like this is a real concern.
Okay. So that's the end of your minute.
It's not a let's play. It's a we play.
I'm gonna just award you ESPN the Ocho, just straight up. All right, you get the Ocho.
No, give him
that was-
ESPN 12 foot long.
ESPN 14. Not quite a foot long.
That was
more
arguably,
so,
like,
but
a
not
solid
quite.
contender for like best lightning round minute. I don't know.
That's like that's pretty hard to probably get a minute out through that much laughter.
I can't believe that lasted a whole minute. It was really quick
It
for
was
me.
2 sentences, but we were laughing.
Was it quick for you guys too?
Yeah, said the receiver. of the
Was it
foot
good
long.
for you? Was it good
She
for
didn't
you?
believe it lasted a minute either.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Lightning round number 2 here. Epic Games inadvertently banned Muhammad Zakir Khan when he tried to sign up for the beta of Paragon, their new in-house game. Apparently his name matched or was very similar to a name on the U.S. government's terrorist watch. Apparently the company implemented a government filtering system when opening up the Unreal Engine 4 to the public. And when they built Paragon using Unreal Engine 4, obviously, they accidentally left a filter in place. The whole idea here was that when they released Unreal Engine 4 free to the public was that anybody could get it, but they obviously had to take on certain restrictions so that people weren't, like people like ISO, for instance, weren't using it to build recruiting tools or whatever. Based on the article this is pulled from, we link to it in the show notes. So we will defer to our guest as the last minute. So you get to commiserate, think,
You can just hang
sit
out.
and stew for a moment. Mr. Morris, I'm going to give you the first minute on this one.
All right. So yeah, I was following this a little bit, and it's definitely kind of an interesting development. I mean, I can understand their need to like put restrictions into place for like a publicly accessible tool so that it's not being used for whatever like nefarious means. However, it's kind of I was reading an article that's it's like this programming like going unchecked. Right? It's going to lead to some negative consequences, right? Like if all of a sudden like we have all of these things that are being built and they're automated and they're blocking people that otherwise are like legitimate consumers and you have no recourse for it, that's a little bit of a scary like dystopian future for like software, games, entertainment, etc. I don't necessarily think it'll go that route, but this is the first time that we've kind of seen something like this publicly, so it'll just be important to keep an eye on going forward. I'm glad like Tim Sweeney addressed it right away and whatever, but it was still a little bit shocking to see this happen to somebody.
It was a good minute.
Solid.
I liked it. It's
solid
good.
minute.
It's good for.
I'm gonna award you 50 points on your Paragon scale. That probably sounds more like a Mass Effect thing.
50
but,
to what? Is it 0 to 100?
Yeah, sure.
So he got 50.
So you got
Yeah, he's halfway. He's halfway there to
got
being a
an
good
F.
guy.
got
He's
an
halfway there to being a good guy.
He got neutral good.
We're all starting at 0, so think of it that way.
So
all right?
if we go to negative 50 to 0, he got nothing then.
Yeah, and in the context of a GPA, that's like that he failed the class.
I don't even care.
let's try not to think of it that way. How about that?
I want to think of it that way.
This is a class where
Who's
some
next?
people get negative 100.
Okay, well, then, good job, Chris.
Yeah, that's pretty good. 0 out of negative 100.
All right. That being said, Mr. Golish, you get the next minute.
What's the topic?
So Subway.
Is it seriously the terrorist guy?
Yeah.
Well, he's not a terrorist.
I understand he's not a terrorist. Why aren't you? You should be playing already. Like,
Oh, I didn't know you were going. Okay,
All right. So I understand this guy's not a terrorist, and we should understand that he's not a terrorist also. Everybody. Even though some computer algorithms told us that he was a terrorist. And he shouldn't play betas for games because he's a terrorist. So why is this a big deal that he can't play beta games? Like, I feel like a terrorist might be okay to play beta games because he would have a unique perspective that that normal people wouldn't understand. Like, maybe he understands that
He's not a terrorist.
That's special ISIS demographic.
no, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I can't argue that. That's not what this minute's about. But is this guy a terrorist? Probably not. But
Definitely not.
the U.S. government says he is, so he can't play our beta games. He can't play any beta games in the U.S. or Australia.
Joe's clueless.
I award you 0 points.
Wait, that's on a scale of negative 100, so you got 100 points.
It's a failing
And may
grade.
God
Sorry.
have mercy on your soul. Or Allah, for that matter.
I don't know what to do with.
I'm sorry.
That was like exactly when we thought about putting this topic in here.
Yeah.
That was like the exact minute we were hoping wouldn't happen.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it ends up when you're like, oh, you know what? I'm sure I do this podcast with a bunch of like really responsible, thoughtful people.
No, I feel like how can you look at it any other way? Like it's absolute ridiculousness. Like
It's pretty
He's
ridiculous.
basically- No,
that it
I get what you were
happened.
doing.
And
Yeah.
I agree with
He's
I
just
don't
having
necessarily
fun
disagree with
because
what
it's so
you're saying.
ridiculous.
And it's yes, and I hope you had fun.
I always have
You
fun.
you are rewarded 0 points again, and may God have mercy on
So
you.
I'm plus
It was
200.
what I would like to dub a Hitchcock minute. That's something that you would expect out of
Less
out of Nate.
birds.
Yeah, out of Nate.
Less birds this time.
Less birds.
Not that Hitchcock.
It's always
Not Alfred. Okay.
Although I appreciate your reference, thank you.
Joe Erskine?
I guess I got to take my 1 minute here.
Go for it.
All right. So I can't fault Epic here a little bit, because if they had enough of a powerful software, however you feel or about Unreal Engine, they were clearly, sanctioned by the government to be like, hey, if you're going to offer this for free, when all those engines went free over the past year, they were like, hey, we need to let you know that we're going to put a filter on this shit that's going to limit the way you distribute it, and possibly limit it to your potential customer base or user base, for that matter. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's super 1984, and it's super weird. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to do, but when you turn around and it carries over because of a bad build to a game, you shouldn't limit your user base. That's not a good minute, but I'll tell you right now.
I liked it.
The benefit of this scenario is that our guest gets to give the host points.
True.
I award you 17 guest points.
That's a prime number.
It's more than 50. It's more than 16.
It's more than several numbers, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, that is more than 16 numbers. Based on a zero to skip.
It's also more than
the negative hundreds. right. So thank you. Thank you.
The final minute.
Can I just add one last thought?
No.
No.
All right.
No, you can. Yeah. Go.
It's
What?
fucked up that this happened. I think this is indicative of a problem that more and more people are going to see, and it's actually the best thing that happened out of this is this guy responded on Twitter, and then Unreal was like, forethinking enough to respond to it appropriately, and that's the best thing that happened out of this. So,
All right.
I like that. I like that point. You could have said that and stopped it.
you're probably right. Actually, you're not wrong, Nick. You're not wrong.
All right. Final minute.
Final minute goes to our guest, Mr. Kevin Katona. Go for it.
All right. I'm going to say what should be on everyone's mind if it's already not. This is going to be short and sweet. Do I think Epic wanted to stop terrorists from playing their game? No. Do I think Epic wanted to stop terrorists from downloading UDK? No. Do I think the US government wanted to stop terrorists from downloading UDK? Yeah, probably. The real question here is, am I concerned with the fact that our counterterrorism efforts can be thwarted by a terrorist pretending that their name is actually John Smith? Yes, I'm concerned about that.
Oh, God.
That's a good point.
Yes.
It's an okay point. I would argue that that's maybe a good
Are
point.
you finished with your minute? Officially? Okay. He's nodding
You
at
should
me. Yes.
be, because if there was a mic
Yeah,
to drop,
that's a
if
mic
it wasn't on
fucking
a
drop.
stand,
Yeah.
then he
He
would have
dropped
dropped
the
it.
fuck out of that shit. I'm
was
awarding you the entire ESPN franchise. Despite its ownership by ABC or CBS, whatever. It's owned by Disney, so good luck with that.
Oh, boy.
But
Jeez.
it was probably the best point to make. So
Yeah, that's
you get all the
fantastic.
points, okay?
Oh, John Smith, the terrorist.
What a fucking dick, John Smith. All right. I think we're done here. Episode 80's in the bag. Kevin, thank you, sir, for
Oh, this was fun.
hanging out with us. Before we go, let us know where they can hit you up on. Are you on Twitter?
I technically am on Twitter to the point that I don't even know my handle.
Okay. So
So you can
that
find
one
me at
enjoy
ISIS.
that fucking game that we
Yeah,
built
John
into
Smith
this
at
episode.
ISIS.com.
That's not a Twitter handle, but that's cool. You can email him there, though, if you want.
That's what we meant.
Thank you for being here, dear listener. And we're always curious to hear what you think. So join in the conversation. Hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, and at cheatcodespodcast.com. Stay tuned for a new episode coming next week. Despite all the holidays and everything, we're still going strong. We're here for you because you're listening, and that's the most important thing. We got some major developments in the works, so stay with us in the coming weeks and months. Let's go make a Motorhead and Bowie mashup. See if we can sing it to Die Hard, yeah?
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Just another movie.
Ziggy Stardust / Ace of Spades. I don't know. Anyway.
I like it.
Kevin, thanks again for being here, man.
Absolutely, man.
Chris.
I
love you.
Say hi to your mom for me, man.
I will. Don't worry. She's been asking about you a lot.
A lot.
Tell her I'm still not around.
We love you, listener. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Oh, God.